What's up, y'all? You know what time it is. It's about to be that time.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Robin.
これは
ロビンは俺の実の妹なんだ。
And we're back. We're out of our teenage years and into our 20s. One Piece 1020 is out. Speaking of teenage years, it has been 18 years, 5 months, since Nico Robin had a named fight. That's a true fact. That was against Yama, one of Enel's priests in the Skypiea arc. Fun fact, it was only a few chapters later that I became weekly. But needless to say, this is a monumental chapter. Okay? We're talking Oda has finally unleashed the Hana no Catch These Hands.
Savage.
10-20 spoilers. Robin and Brooke versus Black Maria. Whole chapter. Let's go.
Another one.
Been waiting for it. We've all been waiting for it. Almost 2 decades we've been asking for him to just let Robin go loose. But, what does he do? He lets her loose and then he cuts to Luffy. That's what 1021 is going to be about, right, Oda? Giant hand stomping a spider out? Please, don't postpone this any longer, please. But we'll talk more about 1021 at the end of the video. We got a lot on the docket today. Obviously, we're going to get into Yamato's fruit, the Makami, the mythology of all of that. We'll get into the mythology of Black Maria. We'll get into the mythology of her weapon, the Wanyudo.
Hi everyone, I loved 1020. We finally got a fight with, like a real fight with Robin. The reveal of her giant Robin, and oh my gosh, I screamed in the living room. So I actually read the chapter when I came back from Marshall's doctor's appointment, and I read it and I screamed in the living room. Ah! I was so excited. But I thought it was fantastic, and I can't wait to see the anime. But I also wish we saw, the end of the attack, a little bit more of the attack, what happens to Black Maria after. And may I say, really like Black Maria as a villain. She's got to be one of the best villains in this arc. So pretty cool that Robin got to face her.
All right, so let's really start diving in here, everybody. Robin has finally gotten a good fight, and it is not over. And I think that that's actually the best part of this, that this will continue, much in the same vein as Jinbei versus Who's Who being 2 chapters. Sasaki versus Frankie was spread across multiple chapters. We've been getting pieces of it for over 20 chapters, I feel. So that's great, right? Now, with this, we'll actually get everything to breathe, and Robin will actually get her due. And what a great villain and a great character for Robin to go up against. Because, obviously Robin can, create all of these hands, etc., etc., etc. She's going up against a spider. These are the obvious things that, we all pick up on. But beyond that, she's trying to use mental, psychological warfare against Robin. But that just doesn't work anymore, right? Not only did she use illusions to bring back Nico Olvia, Clover, and Saul, which is still a little strange, but I was looking into the Jirogamo folklore and all of that, and there was one instance where a woman shows up and says, "Hey, my daughter wants to marry you," and he follows her into the woods, and when he gets to the end of the woods and he meets the woman, he says, I got a wife. I can't do this. I just wanted to come here and say it in person that I'm flattered, but I don't, I can't accept. And At which point, when he turned it down, he woke back up in his house, and a little spider crawled out from underneath him. So in that instance, in that story, it was basically, you know, like the spider had created this sort of illusion for him, and if he had followed through, then, you know, I guess he'd have died. So maybe that's what Oda was trying to go for with this particular instance. But I don't know, it gave me a chance to dust off this Nico Olvia figure that doesn't get enough shine. Then later on, Black Maria says, you know, you're a burden to your crew and all of this stuff. And these are like basically direct quotes that can go back to Enies Lobby and Water 7, to the things that Robin was saying as justification for leaving the crew in the first place. Robin's greatest fear in the Enies Lobby and Water 7 arc was that the Straw Hats would abandon her, that they would betray her, that they would consider her a burden and just toss her to the side like everybody else did. So it's beautiful, beautiful growth. She's not going to get tricked by these illusions, and she's also not going to get tricked by Black Maria's games, because she knows that she has all of these powerful friends behind her. It's a beautiful thing. The single greatest meme to come out of this chapter was someone edited Jabra over Professor Clover, which, as we know, Jabra is Nico Robin's long-lost brother. So he deserved to be there, Oda. You're slipping. But my other favorite moment of all of this is just the interactions between Brook and Robin, a team that, you know, we didn't know worked so well, but it does. Just the little conversations that they're having about, you know, where they're bonding over their own losses and everything. Like those are those character moments that we need. This episode felt like classic One Piece, right? Where it was focused on the Straw Hats. We've been spending so much time with the Scabbards for the past decade that we miss having these moments where the characters can sort of like go off and we can have these buddy adventures. You know, we got a little taste of that at the beginning in Act 1 with Luffy and Zoro. We needed that kind of stuff. So this is great here. And I love seeing pairings that we don't usually get. So, you know, this is a pairing that we haven't had since Thriller Bark, realistically. You know, and of course, we've talked about it before, that there's a parallel there. Then in Thriller Bark, they were going up against the Spider Talaran. Brooke, you know, came in, finished the job. Frankie was involved. Frankie, I believe, is on the same floor as them. So now that he's done seemingly with Sasaki, maybe he'll come over here. I still want that, you know, Kokoro's son thing to come up. Denjiro could possibly show up to where Frankie and Sasaki are, and, you know, fold Sasaki into our side. And speaking of folding into the sides and everything, you know, we have Black Maria talking all this stuff about how Kaido's so great. You guys should really just bend the knee, essentially, you know, like, you guys are delusional, you know, and like, and going at Sanji, you know, specifically for all of it. But this just really goes to the greater picture that Black Maria also is probably someone that had her will broken. So she's so adamant about, you need to bend the knee also, because I need to justify the fact that I gave into this as well. This idea is something that's, you know, continuously getting repeated. Ulti with Nami trying to get her to renounce Luffy, and now with Black Maria trying to do it as well, and we've seen it in other instances. So those are some of the interesting things that I like from a writing perspective. Now, the weirdest thing for a lot of people is probably like the one Yudo, which, you know, Oda took it in a wild direction by, you know, making the guy like, you know, part pug. But the one Yudo is a fire wheel yokai that steals souls and guards the gates of hell. So it's very fitting that Brook be the one to take out the Wan Yudo, right? With his soul powers going against a soul taker. So Oda knows what he's doing. You know, these are the type of like four-dimensional elements that unless you're, you know, knowledgeable of a lot of these folklores, or if you're, you know, ingrained in the, you know, the Japanese culture, you may miss, and you may just say like, oh, this is Oda being weird. No, he's actually drawing from mythology in a lot of this arc. And Black Maria in herself is a representation of the Jirogamo, which is a spider yokai that can transform into a beautiful woman, right? And then we were able to call that a while before, the reveal, because her design is actually based on a traditional Jirogamo. So that's and it's interesting that we're harping on this Sanji thing even more and all that, and that's another thing that is sort of lost in translation. And that whole Sanji business really happened because it's all part of the Jirogamo folklore, being able to lure in, quote unquote a handsome man and all that. The Jirogamo does not work if you're not handsome, apparently.
Savage.
And luring them into their webs and all of that. So in order to really hit home with that folklore, Oda had to, sort of stitch a couple of things, and, he chose our boy Sanji. And it fit. And then he turned it into a character moment for Sanji by showing how much he relies on Robin, which, he was renouncing the crew essentially in Whole Cake and trying to do things on his own, but we talked about all of that in 1005. Now, with this, we get great moments of Robin, really lifting Sanji up as well, saying that he's one of the wings of the Pirate King. They're coming for me, as always. Could everybody be wings? Or is she specifically, talking about the monster trio here, and that one wing is Zoro, one wing is Sanji? Either way, it's an iconic line. It felt like classic One Piece. It was awesome. Quickly, the stuff at the beginning with Yamato and Kaido. Interesting stuff, okay? Yes, a lot of us, the whole community was wrong. I never saw anybody say the Makami. But we were very wrong as well, since we were Team Kirin, or Chialin. So T-Bone, is it a Chialin or a Kirin?
Almost definitely.
Thanks, T-Bone.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Right? That made sense at the time, but I'm actually super excited that we were wrong, because this is way cooler. One, I love ice powers, which, if you didn't know, Yamato is not breathing fire, he's breathing ice. So that's why we're getting that panel of the fire and ice hitting each other, which is a good parallel as well when we go back to the Robin and Brook stuff, where Brook is using his ice against the one Yudo's fire. And also, speaking of that scene where they get away from the fire, Robin just sort of Spider-Man's away. I love that. I love that she used her hands to lift and pull herself up onto one of the rafters. Just a little detail that was just yes, creativity. That's how it works. So there's not a lot of stuff on the internet about the Makami. There's Wikipedia pages and things like that. It's been featured in a few video games, but the information is pretty sparse. As far as the mythology of the Makami is concerned, they are a divine beast in Japanese mythology. They can see into the hearts of humans, protecting those who are good, punishing those who are evil, which goes into Yamato's own desires of, protecting Momonosuke and the citizens of Wano. The Makami is used to ward off evil, especially thefts and fire. Now, of course, the fire angle is important here because of Kaido being able to use fire in his attacks, use fire to hold up Onigashima. Orochi's plan currently involves fire, so, maybe Yamato will feed into that as well. The legend of the Makami is also deeply rooted to the legendary prince of the Yamato dynasty, Yamato Takeru. It is no mistake that Oda is tying all of this together. We were right in the sense that we knew it was going to be an Inu Inu no Mi model mythical Zoan, right? And that was because the fruit that Katarina Devon has, which is the mythical kitsune fruit, right? The nine-tailed fox fruit, was also an Inu Inu. So we were right with that, but I always say, love it when I'm right, love it even more when I'm wrong. This is way cooler. Now, Yamato being a wolf is very interesting to me personally because the etymology of my name, Randy, means shield of the wolf. So Yamato has jumped up a lot of points for me. You got my favorite powers, ice powers, and you're a wolf. All right, Yamato for Nakama. You can join now. But speaking of joining, that seems up in the air, right? Because Kaido is making it seem like Yamato has to stay in Wano. They are the guardian deity of Wano. They cannot leave. But the theme of One Piece is freedom, and Yamato wants to break those chains. So I believe that at the end of the arc, Yamato will go out to see whether it's with Luffy or not. Or, unless they die. But we'll see what happens with that. One of the interesting things about the conversation between Kaido and Yamato is how Kaido stresses Orochi's business, right? And how that's seemingly like part of why they need to stay as well. And we know that Kaido talked about how everything was special and all of that. And there are a lot of theories out there that Kaido is part of the ancient Oni race. That's the same race that Oars and Oars Jr. come from. What if they are also descendants of the same, tribe and all of that? Theory been floating around for a long time in the community that Wano is a bunch of different countries stitched together by continent polar oars. So if we end up learning that Kaido's part of the ancient Oni race and that theory ends up being true, then that gives Kaido a reason for wanting to be there, because he thinks that he has claim and stake to Wano to begin with, because it originally belonged perhaps to his ancestors before the citizens of Wano lived there. Who knows? But there's potentially something there. So moving on to the final page. Okay, we've been talking about this for a while now. Momonosuke was definitely going to be used to get Luffy back up top.
Another one.
And we also got confirmation that Shinobu did in fact use her glider to get them down. Now, this was a scene that I was not expecting for several more chapters, but I'm happy that we got it now. So this is awesome. A conversation between Momonosuke and Luffy where Momo is able to let Luffy know, what was happening while he was up top. Kinemon and Kiku are dead. But he doesn't have time for that. Because, and he's trying to let Momo know, grow up. This is a war, okay? People are going to die, and we don't have the time to talk about it. Because if we sit here and talk about it, then they're just looking down at us saying, why are you talking about this? Kaido's still up there, go beat him.
Savage.
But he still needs some meat, right? And that's where Wet Hair Caribou comes into play. We see him, hiding out in the corner, and it seems like Oda's entire arc for this man is probably to just pull out some swamp meat for Luffy.
There's got to be a better way to say that.
And this was set up, too, in the Caribou cover story. He might have Granny's old meat just hanging out in his swamp fruit. Potentially. Who knows? But I mean, he it's a bottomless pit, so he's got to have some food in there. I think he's going to be key to getting Luffy re-energized, and then Luffy's going to force Momo to fly up top. But something is probably going to get in the way. I don't think from a pacing standpoint, right, that Luffy should go immediately and directly to the roof where Yamato and Kaido are fighting. It's never been that way. You go back to Dressrosa when Pika knocked everybody off of the sunflower field, and the way that Luffy had to, work his way up the hard way again. The gold around his arm in Skypiea. He still had to ride back up Giant Jack with Nami to get onto the Maxim and hit Enel. So I think that's going to be the same situation here. I think that Momo is going to get Luffy as far as he can, which will probably be the bottom of Onigashima. And then that gives us the pacing to get through the rest of the fights, because we still need Sanji to fight, we still need Zoro to fight, we need Robin to finish her fight, we still need a conversation between CP0 and Who's Who to happen, potentially CP0 assassinating Who's Who knows. Denjiro needs to come into play, either by finding the storeroom silhouette, which is either going to be Hiyori or Toki, or is going to play a role in the Frankie and Sasuke fight, because Sasuke and Denjiro have a pre-established friendship. We still need updates on Inuarashi versus Jack. Still feel that Inuarashi is going to get killed by Jack. That gives Luffy an opportunity to take out Jack on his way up, because we still need... I still don't think that Luffy can beat Kaido until I see him easily take out a commander. And Jack is pretty hurt, but, you know, if we just have one full chapter of Luffy versus Jack, I think I would feel pretty confident about that. It took him 11 hours to take out Katakuri. It took him about the same, you know, or whatever to take out Cracker. I need just one quick chapter of that, and then I'll feel confident, you know, all right, you know what, go fight Kaido now, you're ready. So, you know, and then there's also the thing that Luffy did say that he wanted to fight Jack anyway back in Zo, so maybe now this is that opportunity. Raizo and Fukurokuju is still going on. There's so much stuff that needs to happen, and if Luffy just gets right to the roof immediately, that's going to create pacing issues for everything else. So I don't expect him to go to the roof right away. If he does, hey, Oda will figure it out. Trust in Oda. But I think 1021 is going to be more Robin versus Black Maria, at least I'm hoping. But the next thing after that is probably going to be Sanji, unless we get some more updates with everything else. We still have Killer and Hawkins. We got Drake versus Apu. This is all stuff that's got to get wrapped up. And Oda is taking it in a very Enies Lobby approach. Law and Kid versus Big Mom. There is so much going on in this arc. There's so much going on. It's wild. You know, in Marineford, we never saw any of the fights. It was just like one panel here, one panel there, one... Yeah. So, we'll see what happens. But anyway, I'm going to wrap things up here. I loved this chapter. This is easily, you know, top 5 of the year so far. And, man, so good, so good. We are nearing 15,000 subscribers. So if you haven't hit that button yet, it's there. We're at 102 members. So we reached 100 members, which is like bonkers to me. So we have a new emoji. Thanks, guys, for the streams. I want to take this time to shout out the new members. But before we get into all of that, I want to turn it over to our resident Robin fangirl. She'd like to give her thoughts on the chapter.
I loved the chapter. I think actually it was my favorite chapter of Wano so far. And I know I said that before about another chapter, but this chapter is actually my favorite. This beat. Oh, I know which one it beat. It was actually my other favorite chapter was when Robin actually did something as well. And it's when this is the same chapter, right? When Frankie ran over Big Mom. That was my favorite chapter. This may take over my favorite chapter just because not only does it have the Black Maria and Robin fight, but also we had all that great stuff with Kaido and Yamato when they just had like a full-on... Randy told me recently it was... I mean, I didn't really know when I was reading it. I thought it was just fire, but apparently it's ice. So it's like the ice versus fire. That was pretty cool. But back to the Black Maria and Robin fight. First off, I thought it was fantastic how she almost... She was like playing it cool, and she was tricking Black Maria to think that she was getting fooled by the mirage that Black Maria created. And of course, she's not going to be tricked by that. She's the smartest Straw Hat. So of course, she wasn't tricked by that. And I love her and Brooke bonding over their losses. That was a really cool moment that that Oda just fit really nicely in with the fight. And yeah, it's a pretty great arc. And I'm sorry, great chapter. But yeah, I loved it.
And there you have it, Chrissy's thoughts on the chapter. So our new members are Carl Newman, Aztec D Vice, Cheeto 650, Scross 26, and we got some guys that rejoined, Keyboard Cat, Ray Kaminari, who, you know, Ray, you did a lot of great research on the Discord for the Mikami, and phased. So shout out to you guys. The next video I'm going to put out, Chrissy and I ranked the Straw Hats together. We shot the video 2 months ago. If you're a member, you already have access to it. If for everybody else, the video will be out later this week. So it's a long one, but you know, it's fun if you guys, you know, are into that kind of thing. And I'll see everybody for 10/21 later this week. Bye, guys.
I've been swimming deep, deep. Savage.